Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knock Knock Hi with the Glaucomfleckens. I am Dr. Glaucomflecken, also known as Will Flannery.
I am Lady Glaucomflecken, also known as Kristen Flannery.
We are the Flannerys. We are the Glaucomfleckens. We are so excited to have you with us today.
Yes.
It is May. It's
Woo.
end of May. It's graduation season.
It sure is. So sorry. I'm just a little choked up over all the graduations happening. They're so beautiful.
I gotta say, they are wonderful.
They really are. They're a lot of fun.
They're
optimistic and hopeful.
Oh, it's great. I do usually like one, maybe two graduation, like commencement addresses. I spent this past weekend really writing a lot and trying to come up with something inspirational.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to read it yet, so I don't know if it TBD on how well you did.
I'm not quite done with it, but I'm excited for you. I will definitely have you read it because I want to make sure like I'm coming off of the right tone, right? Mm-hmm. What do you remember about my med school graduation?
Oh, I remember thinking, finally. No. What do I remember? We had a little baby.
Yeah.
She was like 1.
Okay. What else do you remember?
I remember your family coming in
Yep.
and all the fun and festivities. And I think we put your face on a cake.
Yep.
Yeah, there was like a crazy picture of you holding a stethoscope. And it was like a let me be your doctor kind of a cake.
So you know what you didn't say? Is that you remember the commencement address, which is exactly the point I was about to make.
I do remember the commencement address at my own grad school.
Of course. It was
because that was Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien.
That was pretty cool.
So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm writing this commencement address that I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
But, like 10, 15, 20 years from now, like they're going to be like, I think it was from a guy on TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember. Said something.
Look,
we laughed
it's
a
not
couple
necessarily about being remembered. It's about them, not you.
No,
so
of course. But
if they take away your core message and they just sort of carry that with them after the day,
hearts,
yeah,
carry it around in their hearts.
Right.
I don't know. It's not for me. Like I want to give something that people will actually remember.
Right. I'm just saying, I think it's okay if people don't remember who their commencement speakers are because it's really not the point.
I do remember my commencement speaker. I remember it was Abraham Verghese.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I don't remember anything he said, but I do remember who it was.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the point sometimes.
Sometimes. I don't know about that. But I'm sure whatever he said was very good and eloquent.
Yeah, I do. It made me feel like excited for my career.
Right.
I
think that's the point. Send these people out into the world.
But it is, we do a lot of speaking. There's just nothing like being in that atmosphere because everyone's just so excited.
And they're so happy.
Excited. You've worked so hard to get to this point.
And there's happy, proud tears from parents. It's just a really fun thing.
And a lot of times the ceremonies are outdoors, which is always just beautiful weather. It's great.
Some places,
not Portland. Sorry to anybody who has a commencement address here. My goodness. Speaking of writing, we have a writer.
We do. I have been so excited.
You're so pumped for this.
Yes. To the fact that to the point, I don't feel very good today, as is probably very clear to people. But I was not going to miss this because I have been waiting and waiting for it. She's just such an interesting person with an interesting story. And she works with medical students and residents on writing and humanities and medicine.
You can hear people saying, well, who is it? My goodness.
Yes.
It's Laurel Braitman, PhD. She is a writer, teacher. Also, one thing I forgot to ask her about was this being a chaplain in training.
Yes, she's a secular hospital chaplain in training. I'm not sure if she's finished her training or not. But
we'll have to have her come back on sometime later and talk about that.
Yeah.
But she's the author of a brand new memoir, What Looks Like Bravery, an epic journey through loss to love. and as a New York Times best-selling book, Animal Madness Inside Their Minds. So she's got a doctorate in history and anthropology of science from MIT and is the director of writing and storytelling at the Stanford School of Medicine's Medical Humanities and the Arts program. Awesome. So
Yes.
really fun conversation. We learned a lot about writing. And just expressing yourself in that way and all the different ways. And so,
Well, and specifically, like, why medical professionals should be doing that and what benefit you get from it.
Yeah. So fun conversation. Should we get to it?
Let's go.
All right. Here is Dr. Laurel Braitman. Today's episode is brought to you by the Nuance Dragon Ambient Experience, or DAX for short. Look at this little DAX here.
Little buddies.
To learn about how DAX Copilot can help reduce burnout and restore the joy of practicing medicine, stick around after the episode or visit nuance.com/discover-DAX. That's nuance.com/discover-DAX. All right, we are here with Dr. Laurel Braitman. Dr. Braitman, thank you so much for joining us today.
I am so excited. I can't handle it.
Oh, me too, because I've decided that I'm sorry that you're hearing it this way, but we are best friends, and I would like to learn from you.
She has decided that you are best friends. It's. I'm telling you, because Kristen is. I mean, your book is great, but Kristen is.
I feel like we're like soul sisters or something. Like we just have a lot of very weird, specific things that are not exactly the same, but are very similar, right? We've got a lot of weird things in common. So it's not very often that I find someone whose life resonates so much with me. So to me, it feels, just very like, I don't know, cosmic or something.
I'm so grateful. I feel the exact same way. And I'm glad we've made it official. Now I'll be sending you your little half-heart necklace as soon as we get off there. So, so we can wear it with pride.
Yes.
Well, I have a question for you. I play all these different characters in my social media, from medicine. And, whenever I don't have a character for a given specialty, people just continuously remind me of that. I'm like, where's the plastic surgeon? Where's the whatever the other things are? I don't know. But one of them, I think you could help me with.
Oh.
And that's the cardiothoracic surgeon.
Oh, God.
Because as I'm sure we'll talk about today, because it's a big part of your book, obviously, is your father was a cardiothoracic surgeon.
Yes.
So can you help me out a little bit here?
I would start with your amazing ED doc, and then I would turn the dial as far away as you could possibly get. like if there's like the cool bro in a bike helmet that just wants to have a beer and like let the maintenance guy like drain an abscess, then as far away from that would be your cardiothoracic surgeon, like the most type A, but like with a little cowboy. And I say that male, female, they, whatever. There is like, a little bit of like God complex.
Oh yeah.
Mixed with like intense, at least in my experience, interest in like irrigation and mechanics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that makes sense.
right?
Sure.
But I'm not sure about outfit. That
scrubs,
probably changes with
right?
the times. Scrubs, but I don't know. Like my dad was big suit guy.
Okay.
Really loved his suits,
Gotcha.
and he would rock them with like the cowboy snap shirt.
So would he like go to the hospital wearing a suit?
Yes.
And then he would change
And he
into
would
his
change.
scrubs and so because now like everybody just wears scrubs all the time.
I know.
Like,
It's sort of
think
like
that-
air travel. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think we've just gotten more casual across the board.
We have all devolved into just day pajamas all the time.
Everybody wants to be
Totally.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think I did have one video a long time ago where I did like a first day of cardiothoracic surgery, but all it was really quick, and all I did was compare the field of cardiothoracic surgery to hell. So I don't know. I didn't really go into detail beyond that. Maybe I could expand on that, or maybe you could expand on that for me.
Oh my God.
Honestly, what was it? I'm curious. What was it like to live, in a house with a cardiothoracic surgeon?
Magnificent and challenging, like
Yeah.
all of the best things in life. I will tell you this. I thought that it was just my childhood, right? Like every kid grows up and believing that whatever they're growing up with is, their family cosmology is the world's cosmology. And then I sat in as an adult on an ethics meeting at the hospital at Stanford, and we are not supposed to talk about what happens there. So I will, keep this on the DL.
What
But what I
happens
will
in
tell
ethics
you,
meetings stays in ethics meetings.
exactly, exactly. It's like a less exciting version of Vegas. So anyway, we're in there, and people start talking, complaining about like a cardiothoracic surgeon, and it's kind of lighthearted, right? But they're all just sort of grousing that, like, even when this guy goes on vacation, like, if you see a patient for something totally different, it's still his patient. We got to call him or her patient, right? And I was just sort of astounded, like how quickly everyone wanted to get off the phone with the cardiothoracic, right? And like how exacting they were. And then people are just sort of rolling their eyes in a lovely way, but this sort of like lighthearted ribbing of cardiothoracic specialty. And I realized like, oh God, like I was the patient in a lot of ways, right? Like, and I was the care team and I was everybody else. Like I was managed very tightly for a very long time.
As the daughter, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And I
see.
didn't realize that was that came with the territory of the specialty. I didn't know that much about medicine yet. And so it was just a little disheartening kind of and also comforting. When you find out that like maybe you've experienced something kind of universal, you feel less special but also comforted somehow at the same time. That's
Right.
what
Yeah.
happened.
Well,
It's kind of like when you grow up and you realize that all those times that you like would tell your mom like, "Mom, watch me run," and you'd go, and then it turns out that she was never counting.
yeah.
She just made
Totally.
up a number when you got back. It kind of reminds me
I
of
still
that.
do that.
Like, oh,
With our kids. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
true. 7 out of 10. Great jump in
Yeah.
the pool, guys. Like,
Exactly.
totally. Haven't
Amazing.
watched it all, but so proud. So proud.
yep.
Well, if there's one thing that I've learned from other people in different specialties in medicine, it's that the personalities over time really do stay consistent. I hear from people all over the world who practiced in different generations, that it's still like that, or it's like that here, same as it is, in the U.S. I think the difference probably with your dad was that training was different, and so maybe that we didn't have the work hour restrictions, and so he was probably in the hospital, I imagine 100-hour work weeks or more, and probably had to have that kind of micromanage, just keep everything in order, otherwise it all falls apart. Right.
100%. He met my mom when he was chief resident at UCLA, and he had, I don't know how he got this, but he had some 10-day break. And he met her, and he actually asked her to marry him on their first date.
Oh,
And
wow.
she thought that was a
Whoa.
little bananas. And she said,
Sure.
ask me again in a week. And he
A
did.
week.
And she said yes. And then he went back into his residency, and she didn't see him, of course, as you know, right? And she
Yeah.
didn't know him yet. Like she was convinced, A,
Whoa.
he was a little off his rocker, and B, that he must be having an affair. And so she went to the hospital a couple times just to see if he was there, because she couldn't possibly believe that he would have this little time. And also he had made sure to like woo and seduce her during his week off. So he was like completely around
goodness.
for a week, locked that down, and then like a week later, was gone.
Whoa.
A
Very
ghost.
efficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But that tells you a lot about his personality, right? Which is like, found this woman, love her,
Yep.
gonna
So-
build a life with her. We're gonna have children,
Check.
gonna lock this in. Now I'm going back to the hospital.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's just such a surgeon mentality.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Totally.
I have so many questions for your mother.
I know. I wish she would love you guys. I wish she could be here.
And so but did you ever think about like going to medical school? Like, did your upbringing influence your career decision one way or the other?
Being a writer inside of a medical school is pretty much like as close as I have
Yeah.
ever wanted to be. I thought about it. I think I was in high school once, and my dad was, really sick, but also very around. And I came home from school one day and I was like, what if I think about medicine? And he was like, how about you think about an MD PhD instead? Like
Oh my
he
God.
wanted me to think like about something a little different, but also he really knew I wanted to be a writer. And I think for him, literature, storytelling generally was a road not taken. And he was also so frustrated with how the changes in medicine that he saw in his lifetime. Like, we would have patients come over to the ranch and they would bring him like canisters of seeds in exchange for treatment. He was really an old school doctor, even though he was also a surgeon. And he was seeing that change and he just so resented having to call. He would love your insurance company skits,
Oh yeah.
like pre-approval calls and everything. Like he hated that, resented it. He really hated what was happening with medicine. And I think he wanted something different for me. And I think he was really excited. He'd never met a writer. I think he was really excited that like someone in the family like might be able to do this really different thing. And he loved books. I think if he did it again, he would probably just be a farmer and maybe would have tried to be a writer too. But that just
Interesting.
wasn't possible for him. He wanted to make a good living and he made different
Yeah.
choices.
Yeah.
Did you adopt some of his type A personality with the writing? Does that cross over to a writing field, that type of attention to detail?
He doesn't know what he's stepping into. I've read your book.
I used his life approach as a coping mechanism for way too long, I would say, right? Like what I pulled from him has been both wonderful and also like my biggest challenge that I've had to deal with becoming an adult and figuring out what could drive me besides the drive for excellence. And might I find other ways, to enjoy my life's work, if not driven from a need to prove myself or be excellent. And so I'm trying to balance, like he also had a huge love of life. I walk past the trees he planted for us every day. I really got the kind of attitude of you're being shot out of a cannon into life. You better enjoy this from him. But also I got a lot of pressure and anxiety and I'm trying at this stage in my life to find a balance.
Yeah. You use the phrase excellence as an analgesic, which I just love. Like I wrote that down as I was reading it because I could relate to it. And I think so many of our audience, healthcare professionals can relate to it as well. I think it's something that, for better or worse, drives people to do great things with their life, but like you've mentioned, sometimes there's a darker motivation behind that drive that can be a little unhealthy. That we all eventually, hopefully, some of us, maybe some of us don't, come to realize is, maybe something we should take a look at in ourselves.
Exactly. That's why I feel so comfy in medicine. I feel surrounded
Yeah.
by my people.
Right.
All of us are kind of, in many ways, drugging ourselves metaphorically and literally sometimes, to be able to do well in the world. And I think,
Yeah.
the instinct to become a healer, I do think medicine still remains a calling. There are easier things to do in life than
Yes.
medicine.
Definitely.
And so something supernatural in some ways is pushing you. And ideally that thing that's pushing you is not something that is also hurting you. And that's why I feel good in medicine. I feel kind of surrounded by people who are trying to figure this out too, or who are not trying.
Yeah.
but should, for the benefit of
But
all of us.
should, yeah. Yeah, it becomes this sense of identity or like the way that you prove that you have worth as a human being, because that's the messaging that you got your whole life was, we value you because you achieve, you're a
Yes.
high achiever. So anyway, that's a whole therapy session probably that we could get into.
You want me to put on my costume? You want me to
Yeah,
be
we need
the
the psychiatrist.
Yes,
to,
yes, please.
to get in there? Well, so I was interested in because you feel like you wanted to become a writer, right? That was where you were called to be, and so you went to MIT. You got your doctorate in history and anthropology of science. And so was the writing, was it always going to be, okay, I want to get into the medical realm with my writing, or was that a process of discovery you had to figure out?
Good question. I think I've always been drawn to medicine. Um, when I was little, I had this little nurse's outfit, and my dad worked at our local county and private hospital in town, and like they didn't care, or maybe if they did, they didn't say anything. He would bring me on rounds. And I would just go nurse's station, like eating those little ice cream cups with the wooden spoon
Yeah.
on top. And I would tell them the last nurses hadn't given me one.
Yes.
I loved it. And for a lot of my childhood, I wore a little stethoscope around, and I would use it on all of our farm animals. I loved that part of medicine, like the connection with others. I loved hearing people's stories. But I was never drawn to be the practitioner. I think I've always been drawn to be around it and hear about it, because I think no one is more interesting than someone who's on the front lines of the human experience day in and day out. And so I've always been attracted to the stories of medicine. And that's what I was doing in graduate school too. I tried to be a scientist a little bit. I worked doing conservation biology for a long time and fishery science. And I was always like more interested in my field notes than I was in like what our results were. And I would say the same thing in medicine. And I've just, you guys are proof of this, right? Like I think the best healers are storytellers, and they always have been. And so, I don't think it's that weird, but I've definitely always been attracted to the stories of science and medicine more than the doing. And I wanted to be a writer, but as I said, I'd never met a writer before. I really wasn't sure how to do it. And I knew that if I went and got a PhD, that people who got PhDs wrote books. And so, maybe I'd write an academic book, but at that point I was just like, I don't care. Like a book is a book. I just want to do this. And I knew there was a route through, unlike medicine, writing it, there's no clear path. And so I didn't know, and I didn't have anyone in my family that could tell me. So I wound up at MIT, and then I just begged, honestly. One of my mentors, I never met him before. One of my favorite writers is an Indian writer named Amitav Ghosh, and he was coming to Harvard to teach a class on writing. And I just wrote him a letter, like out of the blue, got his email address somewhere, and was like, I'm not a Harvard student. I'm not a writer. I'm like a student down the road. Can I come sit in your class? Like, would that be okay? And he said yes. And then he just said randomly one afternoon, this is the last class I'm ever going to teach, because reading your essays and being critical of you is like making it hard for me to write my own fiction. So if you ever want to write a book, come to my office hours and pitch it to me, and we'll see if we can make that happen. And it was
wow.
like the skies opened, right? And I went home, I typed up all my ideas, most of which were terrible, and I marched over to his office hours and read to him aloud my list of books. And he was like, no, maybe.
He was like, these are just field notes from your fishery background. I don't understand. What's going on here?
Honestly, that is what I pitched him. Was like, I am going to go find Harold, my pet catfish, in the wilds of the Amazon. And he was like, I don't know. But anyway, it's how I became a writer. It wasn't that easy. I had to beg his agent to take me on, and worked for years before selling something. But that's how it happened. Was just me kind of talking my way into a class so that I could meet an honest to God writer, and see how it was done. And then, you write about what you care about. And I have had, I love your phrase, co-survivor.
Oh,
I
good.
love it.
I was going to ask you about that, because I was so curious if you identify with it, if that resonates for you, because as, a child of someone who went through treatment for osteosarcoma of all things for so long, like that must have had such a big effect on every person in your family. So I was curious if that was something that spoke to you at all.
I would say resonate is an understatement of the century. I think that we have been missing this word, because
Yes.
also, I talk to so many kids and young adults who have had a loss or lived through the terminal or chronic illness of someone close to them, and caregiver doesn't work. Like
No.
caregiver isn't the right word. Sometimes you're not a caregiver, but you have lived through the experience. And so I just felt like, I could hear strings music when I first heard you say that, because I think,
Aw.
we've been missing that word. We've been missing
Yeah.
that word for a long time. And, that is is what I write about. That is the experience I have spent my life trying to put words around, which is what
Yep.
it is like to love people. And, you guys have way too much experience with this. What is it like to love people and to worry and to go through their experiences with them? How does it change you? How does it
Right.
change how you see the world? How does it change your work? I mean, that is what I am interested in. And I'd say I've been exploring that in my work since, I was a kid,
Yeah.
even though the medium changes.
Yeah, it's so amazing to me. This is one of the things I would say I preach on this that I don't know why. I can't explain to medical professionals the biology behind this, but something about having a word for it is so healing and so powerful. Like, not having a word for it makes you feel so just like lost and broken. And then as soon as you can put a container around it and put a name on it, something about that is just so therapeutic, and it allows you to connect with other people and to just immediately understand each other when you find someone else like that. And for other people, even, who aren't maybe a co-survivor, but maybe a medical professional, for them to understand you as well. Because it says, oh, this happened to you too. Like, it wasn't in your body, but it happened to you also. And there is no framework for that right now within the healthcare system to see. Even the word caregiver, it's a very healthcare system focused word. It describes what the healthcare professionals think of this
Yes.
person, right? That comes in with the patient of, oh, they can help provide care at the home when we're not there, right? It's not at all centered around the actual human experience of the patient and their family dealing with this medical event or situation or illness. So I get off on soapboxes all the time, but that is one of my soapboxes. But, as a writer, and then, you're a secular chaplain as well and a fellow co-survivor, like, you are uniquely qualified to answer this question, which is why do you think that word, or just words in general, are so important? Like, I write about the quiet place, right? Which is what happened to me after his cardiac arrest and after doing CPR and after all of the crisis was over and I could finally, quote, relax. It wasn't relaxing at all. What happened is I disappeared into myself and I lost a lot of my language capability beyond just sort of the logistics of the day to day, right? So, and then it was words, it was finding those words. Forgotten patient and co-survivor. Katie Dainty is where I found out one of her articles. It was finding those words and some other words that brought me back out of the quiet place. So why words? What is it about that why do we lose them, and why do they help heal us when we find them?
Uh, I mean, that's the question. I think that's job security for us all, right?
Yeah.
We're all in the finding words business to explain the unexplainable. I think,
Right.
we keep losing all of these other things that we thought once made us human, right? Like tools, language, names, songs,
Right.
art making,
Right.
home decor, like all of these things, right? Like we realize like, oh, we're so much less special than we thought. Right. If bowerbirds have interior decorators, like what does that say about us? Right. But I think one place where we are still deeply uniquely human is in trying to forge meaning from that which confuses us and hurts us and scares us. And so for me, like medicine and just being in a liminal space too, where you don't know what's coming next, or, in those years after, say you're in remission, but the piano could still drop at any time. Like how do we find words for those kinds of experiences, which we know give our life meaning, purpose, also keep us up at night, scare us to no end, influence our friendships, our parenting, everything else. Like, I think we need words to be able to feel less alone in those experiences. And if you craft a narrative, if you tell a story, if you make a skit, other people see it and they're like, oh, me too. I too feel that way. And even if it's just like a like or something, right? Like what you have created is the feeling for someone else to feel seen too. So I think we need it. And I think it's the one thing we do best as a species. I really do. And I think medicine is where it needs to be the most, personally.
Yeah, and that brings us nicely to your work at Stanford. You are doing that with medical professionals. You're teaching them how to
Yes.
write. That's a gross oversimplification. Why don't you tell us
Let's.
what it is you do there?
I'd love. Let's take a quick break,
Oh, sure.
and then because I definitely want to get into this topic.
Okay.
I've been excited to hear about this work. So we'll come back with Dr. Laurel Braitman. Oh, Kristen, do I have an AI platform to tell you about?
Ooh, tell me.
Yeah, it's called Precision. This is
Mm,
the first ever EHR integrated infectious disease AI platform.
that sounds
Yeah, well,
fancy.
one of the hardest things of infectious disease is like figuring out what to do with all the information, and
Yeah.
it's always coming in at different times, and figuring out what works best for the patient.
Yeah.
Well, this automatically highlights better antibiotic regimens.
Ooh, I would
Yeah,
imagine that helps with antibiotic resistance.
it does. To see a demo, go to precision.com/KKH. That's precision spelled with an X instead of an E. So PRXCISION.com/KKH. All right, so we are back with Dr. Braitman. And so Kristen had brought it up, and I'm very excited to hear about this work that you're doing at the Stanford School of Medicine. It's the Medical Humanities and the Arts program, which first of all, I'm just so excited like is a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Right.
I feel like this must be a newer development in the medical field
Yeah.
that people are taking notice of the importance of
I
humanities.
kind of remember like when you were in med school a good number of years ago. I remember
Not
there
that
was
long
like
ago. It wasn't that long ago.
there was a class that was basically a medical humanities
God, it
class,
was
and
10 years ago. Never mind. Okay, go ahead.
I remember people kind of like poo-pooed it, right? And I think even you kind of were like not that into it, right? But then the more lived
It wasn't
experience,
funny, that's all.
let's be real, that was what it was.
It was a
But the more
little
lived
dry.
experience that we've had, I think the more we have realized why that is so important. To be on the other end of the doctor-patient relationship, I think really drives that home. So
So tell us a little bit about what your role is. Like, what are you? Well, I'd love to know how you got into this role in the first place as well. But what
just
exactly
tell
is
us
it? Tell us about
everything.
it.
Well, it all starts with my mentor, a poet and an anesthesiologist who is just a magnificent person, Dr. Audrey Schaefer. And she started the Medical Humanities and Arts program 15 years ago.
Oh
So
wow.
it has been going for a fair bit, and there are a lot of medical humanities programs around the country. But I will say, also, nothing is new under the sun. Like in many ways, this is all a return to what medicine was a very, very long time ago, where pre-specialty, where most physicians were naturalists. They collected art. They studied the human form. I think that this in many ways is a return back to earlier medicine and realizing that, oh my gosh, this is of course a humanities discipline. And I think the best physicians have think about that. Anyway, they don't need a medical humanities program to do that. The program at Stanford is awesome. We're actually housed inside the Bioethics Center, which I love too. And we do all kinds of stuff. There's music, there's painting, there is live drawing, there's all kinds of things. I run the writing and storytelling. And I started about 7 years ago, working with clinical students, with faculty, and anyone else actually within the Stanford medicine community. And it was kind of an accident, honestly. My new book, which is a memoir, I thought was going to be a book about how doctors die. I wanted to know if physicians who had a lot of experience up close and personal with end-of-life decisions, not just palliative care, but beyond that too, did they make different decisions? Because I had seen in my family such a big difference with how my father, and then later my mom, approached their own deaths. And I wanted to know if that was just them or if that was everyone. And I started just like kind of wandering around the hospital, and people were so kind, giving me interviews, allowing me to be there. And I had connected with Audrey Schaefer, and she was teaching a creative writing class to medical students. And she said, listen, it's a really popular class. How about you teach it with me? Also, we used to have a writing workshop and we don't anymore. I think people might like that. And I hung a shingle. I wasn't sure if anyone would come. And I was blown away. Like there's so much interest, both in like late career, retired, mid-career physicians and nursing staff and everybody, and then also especially clinical students in learning to be better communicators. And I wasn't, I hope the stuff isn't dry. Like I also said, and I'm still shocked. They said yes to me. I hope they don't take this away. I said, I don't want to teach inside. Okay. I want to teach somewhere where their cell phones don't work. Ideally, they have some nature. We need really good food. And I would like
Just a
to
few
make
small
them
asks.
camp.
That's all.
Exactly.
To a medical school administrator. Can you imagine?
Imagine. And Audrey, bless her heart, said, that sounds nice. Why don't you try it? I was like, oh my God, okay. But also I was coming from left field and I really hadn't been inside an academic medical institution. So I think in that way, it's kind of a blessing, right? You come in, you don't know how weird the thing is that you're actually suggesting. And I loved it. And I'm just doing it to this day. And the embarrassing thing is I thought, I thought people who taught writing were people who couldn't get paid enough to write. And that is so embarrassing to say. I just thought teaching was going to be this Hail Mary if the other stuff I really wanted to do didn't work out. And I have to tell you, it brings me more meaning than I could have possibly imagined. I love it so much. Oh, wow. So many of my students have become my family. I adore it, and helping them figure out who they are and what they want. And also, mid or later career or retired physicians finding meaning in what they have done, trying to tell stories about the experiences that change them. And, like you will, a lot of them also have had their own brushes with illness, with cancer, with all kinds of things, and trying to balance like the perception of the physician as invulnerable with also like taking power over their own narrative and sharing their story and what they've learned. Like that's been some of the most meaningful experiences of my life. And then also to watch them publish is so fun, and share their own talks and write their own books. And it's been so much fun. I can't believe it.
I kind of want to be now I'm seeing like, I'm you now.
You're speechless.
You're that mentor you had. I'm not a student at Stanford, but can I come sit in your class?
Absolutely. I told my students this quarter, I'm teaching this weekly, which I really dread because I don't live near campus anymore. So I fly in now to teach once a week. So for one quarter a year, I'm like really paying Stanford to teach there, which gets a little depressing. Yeah. But I love my students so much. And I told them, listen,
they don't have much money, so they,
Yeah, Stanford.
Yeah, exactly.
They're little.
I mean, the truth is that the humanities in medicine doesn't have it. So, so true. I always feel bad. I'm like begging someone to come just so that I'll promise them a burrito. I'm like, I know you're parking in that fancy parking garage, but I don't have this budget. But I'm flying up, and it's a little hard. And now I'm a rancher and balancing all these things, and I don't know how long I'll be able to teach a weekly class. Is the truth. And I told them that, and I said, listen, I told them how I became a writer. I was like, my door is always open. And if you have a book idea, I want you to come pitch me. So actually one of my students, I think is going to write a book. It's just, many have, but in this class, at least one of them has been talking to my agent and has a wonderful book idea about a kind of memoir / reported book on the history of reproductive technologies for queer families. And it's a great story, personal story of his. Seeing that cycle is just so cool. Maybe this is how you guys feel as parents. I'm not a parent and I know it's different, but that idea of like, oh God, could I take some stuff that I learned the hard way and make life like a little bit more interesting or easier for you? Like, that's such a cool feeling.
Yes, I resonate with that so much. See, there's so many things we have in common. Like the teaching, I'm not doing that anymore, but that was for a long time a big part of my identity. And it's actually better than being a parent, because when you're a parent, you have to like do all the not fun stuff, like all the discipline and,
Totally.
make them a good person and stuff. But like
Feed them,
feed them
all
3
the
times every
annoying
day at
things.
least.
They're
Yeah.
constantly eating. That's
Yeah,
anyway.
you have to deal with a lot of their like body fluids.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
as a teacher, you get to have some of those like good parts of parenting where you see them develop and you see how you have maybe affected them in a positive or negative way, but influenced their life. And
Totally.
I
Ideally
totally
less
know what you
body
mean about
fluid.
that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally speaking,
Does-
I don't know about maybe in the medical school it's different, but
Does
Only wrong place, wrong time, I think. Mostly I'm able to avoid it.
Good.
does the workshop have a need for someone to teach about TikTok script writing?
Are you kidding? I
Is
mean,
that-
you guys. Yeah.
is
I
that-
can't afford your speaking fee. I can only pay you in burritos and gratitude.
I like burritos.
Depends on how good the burrito is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very
I hear
good.
it's pretty good down
Very
there.
good. I
in
can also
California.
give you lifetime of avocados, citrus,
Oh.
I don't know, peacock feathers, an angry donkey. We can work something out.
Angry donkey.
But
Well,
they would love that. I think my medical students, tend to, they're not as active on social media, I think, as much as like maybe the Gen Pop is. And I think that's a great shame because I think, I don't have to tell you
I
guys,
agree.
like this is our main public health delivery mechanism now.
Right.
Exactly.
And look what happened during the pandemic. Like if we do not have like smart physicians and other folks in healthcare who have the skills to speak directly to the public in ways that make sense and are intelligible, like, oh my God, are we in trouble? Like
Right.
it can't just be Fauci, bless his heart, right? Like
Right.
we need other people too, and people who are going to reach young people. And so
You're speaking my language.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
we
is
see-
one of
we
our
need
soapboxes
you-
too.
I don't know how I feel about cloning, but if you can take care of that, please.
And I'll tell you, one of the other reasons I love what you're doing and what you've built there is one thing I talk about a lot is the absence of creativity in medicine today.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is standardization, everything's templates, everything is so
It's all about efficiency.
it's all about efficiency and to the detriment, I think, of our creativity. And so many people in medicine are creative people. Like I think
Yes.
everybody has creativity. It's just a matter of being able to tap into that. And medicine in 2024 makes it so hard to find that, either because you don't have the time or just the job itself doesn't lend itself to creativity. And so you're doing
Squashes
something
it
like
out of you, in fact.
right. And so doing something like the medical humanities and really having a dedicated space to allow people, healthcare professionals, to explore their own creativity will not only make them better doctors, nurses, whoever, but also just mental health. It's just, I think it's good
because
for
creativity is
good for
just
the
such
soul.
a core part of being a human.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot about the healthcare system and the medical education system right now that actually just trains the humanity out
Yes.
of you. And we've seen the results of that, right? Like patients are dissatisfied, physicians are dissatisfied, students are dissatisfied. There's all this burnout, there's suicide. It's just not the way to go. So I think what you are doing is critically important, right? It's not a luxury. It's not, you should have a budget because this is like basic to our survival and our functioning as human beings, let alone our health.
I totally agree with you. I think my hope, right, and no shade to any potential advertisers, but what I hope, right, is that like AI and some of these efficiency things that are coming on board now might allow more space for the art and craft of medicine. Like, I do think people spend too much time in Epic and writing notes and everything else, right? Like, if some aspect that is not the joyful, meaning-bringing aspect in a clinical encounter can be outsourced, rather than then take that and have a for-profit kind of model, which is then like, oh, great, now you can see 42 more patients, right? Is what will happen if we're not careful? If instead the average 7-minute or 15-minute office visit could instead be a meaningful conversation
Right.
in which people make eye contact, in which they tell stories, in which both people walk away from that feeling seen and heard and, kind of inspired about their future in some way and what they might do together as a team, then that would be a success. I think, and I agree with you, this is core to medicine. Like, this isn't like a cool finger painting thing
Right.
that you do on the side. And then that's when I get worried. Like I do think that the work that we are all doing and our work at Stanford, I do think it's wellness work. I do. I worry when we talk about it that way, because I think then that becomes part of our American self-care culture, right? Where it's like, it's all independent. It becomes yet another thing that a healthcare professional has to do on their Sunday. Like, oh, well,
And
you
if
feel
you can't
bad.
manage it, then you've failed.
Yes, have this face mask. Or like, clearly you didn't work out enough this week, right? Like,
You
we
didn't
have
do
too
your
much of
wellness.
that.
Right.
You didn't do your wellness exercises.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like so messed up, right? So I think what we need to talk about instead is like, yes, this is a core part of like having a group of healthcare professionals who enjoy what they do, who haven't forgotten why they do what they do, who are not resentful of what they do all day, who feel like there is
Right.
isn't a huge disconnect between why they went into medicine and then how they're spending their hours. Like, I think that's where burnout and overwhelm comes from, is that like not hard work. We're not scared of hard work. We wouldn't be here, right? Like,
Right.
I think it's instead we're scared of doing work that feels meaningless.
Yes. Yeah. Say it louder for the people in the back.
I feel
You also
I feel strongly.
Sorry. It's good.
with you. You talk about in your book too, and this is one of the major themes I wanted to be sure to touch on with you. You talk about this
We haven't
idea.
said the book name yet. Let's say it.
Okay. It's
We will at the end too, but
and at the beginning, but
there's no. No,
what looks like bravery.
Well, it looks like bravery.
But
Yeah.
you're gonna have to help me with the subtitle.
An epic journey from loss to love.
That's
There it is.
Yes. And you write a lot about losing your father and your mother later on, and the grief and how that has shaped you and how you have learned to live with it. And there's so much that I could go into on that book. But one of the major themes that that resonated with me in particular was this idea of like negative emotions, because this is another soapbox of mine, right? They're not something. This is another thing that medicine and medical training trains out of physicians is the ability to feel and sit with their own negative emotions. It teaches them to put them in a box, shove it down, never speak of it again, and just swallow it, right? But of course, then it just causes an emotional sepsis to do that. We know that. I was an emotion researcher for a bit, and we just know that that's actually unhealthy. And you write about how these are not things to run away from, to hide from, to move through, to get past, right? That grief is not something that you just, process and move through and then you're done with it, right? And I have always kind of talked about how, negative emotions are not bad. They are all emotions are not good or bad. They are simply data. Right? Like they are our body's way to tell us about what is important. And so they're just signals and they're information that all we need to do is listen to that and say, oh, okay, what is it that's important to me about this? What is this emotion trying to tell me? Process that and move along, right? And we're better about doing that with positive emotions than we are with negative emotions. But can you speak to that a little bit about how you have learned to carry it with you and not just bottle it up like that, and how your students how your class helps them do that, or other things that might help medical professionals do that?
Sure. My own experience started, and I'll give you the really quick version. Both my parents chose medical aid in dying to end their lives when they realized that they were dying anyway from metastatic cancer. And my father chose to do it before it was legal. And it was a hush-hush thing. I wasn't really supposed to know what was happening. And he died after our last conversation, where I didn't know he was about to take his lethal medication. And our last conversation was a fight. And I hung up on him. I was so mad. And by the time I got home, he was unconscious and I would never be able to talk to him again. And I didn't mention this to anybody, but I carried with me for the next 20 years such a deep-seated feeling of like, oh my God, here is this man who, like the giving tree, has traded parts of himself for life with us, for time with us, for years and years. And when it counts, I let him down and I am bad. And I need to prove to myself and others, even though I don't think this was conscious, that I am good. And if I feel those feelings of shame and regret and badness, like it will swallow me alive. And so therefore I am like an emotional shark. I must keep swimming. I must keep going. I must keep
That
going.
sounds like someone else I know.
Oh God, I'm sorry. But yeah,
It's true. It's true.
The club is cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we have some good
Hey.
people in here. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
these are, we're nice sharks, you know? It's just,
Well, speak for yourself. I don't know. It depends on who you ask, I think.
Yeah.
we just get tired, you know? Like
That's
I got
right.
tired. And again, the coping mechanisms stopped working. And these negative experiences, feelings, emotions, as you said, like they don't go away, right? It's a game of emotional whack-a-mole. They come up in other places where you're least expecting it, where they surprise you. You can't control it. They're scary. Right. And so it was a big journey for me to try and figure out like how to sit with my own feelings of shame and badness. And in my case, hanging out with a lot of grieving kids is what helped me initially. But it's working with grieving kids that have now helped me help healthcare professionals, which is kind of funny. But all of these kids, you know, were blaming themselves too. I watched them go through the same kinds of experiences that I had had. Like they were out of their room, their mom's hospital room when she died because they said they wanted to go play or get a snack. And when they come back, she's no longer there. Or many kids also, right? Like you fight with your parents all the time. Like that's
Right.
part of your role in life. But yes, if that's your last conversation, like you can tell yourself a terrible story about your worth going forward. And I was able to have empathy for these kids and see that it wasn't their fault in a way that I was never able to do for myself.
Yeah.
And so I do now, you know, not in an obvious way, I would say a lot of it's subconscious, but once you learn something, once you have a little bit of wisdom, it's not in a corral, right? Like it invades your very life.
Right.
So part of what I do with healthcare professionals is, you know, they come to me because they want to write like a piece of my mind essay for JAMA, or they want to write an op-ed, or they want to give a better talk about their clinical research, or they want to write a great fellowship application essay, a residency essay. But to do that, right, to do that well, they have to figure out how they feel, what they think. And so it's this sort of sideways way to force some reflection, I think, that people might not otherwise engage in, even if it's in the service of success or getting to put something on your CV. So if I said, hey, come do this wellness work with me, I'm not sure it would work. I never would have signed up for that personally.
No.
Like that to me felt floofy and just like, no. And carries this air of like someone telling you to eat your vegetables rather than making the vegetables just delicious. And so I resented that. And I don't want self-care to be yet another thing on my list. My list of my to-do list is already too long. So I would say that's how I do it, is kind of create protected time for people to reflect. And then I ask them just questions that I think, you know, they might not have been asked for a while. And honestly, a lot of this happens in like 5 to 7 minutes. Like we're not talking about a long period of time. Like if you give me 7 minutes with like a busy physician, and they are not allowed to do anything else for that 7 minutes, like I will help them reflect on something.
That sounds more like a threat than a promise. But
Exactly.
I mean, hopefully they find it enjoyable because they want something on the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
right.
So that's mostly how we do it, is just kind of protected time to ask people questions, to explain that which maybe no one has ever asked them to explain. Or it's do things like, you know, write your obituary. We're going to write our future obituaries that hopefully like won't need to be published for a very long time. What do you want that to say about you? Or, you know, we all know corporate slogans.
Such a hard thing.
Yeah.
That sounds terrifying, but also
I think the first thing that comes probably to your mind, to my mind, probably to most of your students' mind is like your resume.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
just list all the things that you accomplished.
But
But then who cares? That's the whole point of
yeah,
the exercise.
yeah, like that does that matter? That wouldn't.
Right.
What does that matter?
But that's the first draft, I think that
Yeah.
comes to everybody's mind is just, I did this, I did this, I did this.
Yeah, I made Phi Beta Kappa.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, great.
Cool.
Right.
But
Congrats.
could be part of it, right? It could be like, hey, I wanted to start like a storytelling empire in medicine, so that other people can laugh in a situation in which they might not otherwise, right? Or like,
Right.
I wanted people to feel more connected to what they do all day and create a community of people that will like come to an improv the night and laugh together and find joy in what they do. Like that is something that maybe is on the obituary, right? But I think it's also how you want to be remembered. Like, do
Yeah.
you want people to think that you are someone who made them believe things were possible that weren't otherwise? Or do you want to be remembered as a certain kind of parent or whatever it is? Like, we're asked all the time to do that kind of resume writing. Particularly, I think in healthcare, everyone is really good at that. Like, give me a grant voice or let me into your program voice, which is the
Right.
opposite if you want to actually connect with anyone else, right?
Right.
So I think if you give people the tools to communicate in a different way, they will have a different experience with themselves. And that's, what we're aiming for.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for what you do with communication, and we all of us in medicine need this type of thing in our lives for a variety of different reasons, and so please continue.
Well, and your patients need you to have these things in your lives. Like,
Right.
as a non-medical professional, I absolutely want my doctor, my nurse, my whoever it is to interact with me as a human to human, not as some clinical robot, So I think this is what's missing right now in the medical system. And so I'm so glad that people are out there doing it.
Please keep going down once a week for
Yeah.
for burritos and avocados to do this work. It's helping a lot of people. But before you go, can you tell folks where to find you and definitely want to talk plug your book and everything.
Thank you. Yeah, people can find me at laurelbraitman.com, just my first name, last name.com. And my books are everywhere books are sold. The new one is about a lot of these things we've been talking about. And the first one is also about emotional health, but in us and other creatures. So, yeah.
And us and other creatures.
Animal Madness is your first book. And then What Looks Like Bravery is your memoir.
That's right. And then you also have do you have a Substack? Is that?
I do. I'm renaming it though. I think that it's going to be There's No Better Place.
Okay.
It's a good name for a Substack. It's
is
good.
it? Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
I think
so.
it's good.
Makes me want to go there.
Yeah, it's like,
Sounds nice.
Like, where else would I be but the
Yeah.
place that there's no better place to go?
Well, it's
So,
like about, it's like the
I like
thing
it.
I was trying to go through with a friend, like the phrases that people say to you when someone dies that aren't helpful, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
she's in a better place or that.
Right.
So we're like, oh, well, maybe that, but I don't know yet. But they will be able to find it at my website. So if they go there, or
Good.
I'm
Right.
also on Instagram, Laurel_Braitman. And that's really the only social media I've been able to do. God
That's fine.
bless you and your
Yeah.
TikTok.
That's
I
enough.
just... It's so great. I'm too self-conscious looking
Yeah,
at the
I'm losing my
reverse
mind with
the reverse camera to really master TikTok. Instead, I just spend way too many hours on it.
All right. So
I will also plug your website because just as a marketing professional and a design nerd, it's one of the favorite websites that I've
It's-
seen in a very long
I'm
time.
actually looking at it
I
right
love
now.
it.
It's a good website.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
It's
so
good.
very
nice.
good.
I like the cowboy hat and
Oh.
the background there. That's good.
Yeah, it has a whole
Check it
theme.
out.
You committed and you nailed it.
I want to go to that ranch. That seems.
Come. I'm not
really
that far
nice.
from you guys. Are you ever in
Yeah,
Southern
it's
California?
true.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Probably a few
I mean, it's a
times
nice,
year.
easy
We'll
flight
be
down there too. So.
Yeah.
Plus,
All right, we'll
we
hit you
gotta
up.
get away from the clouds every winter, so we're always looking for sunny places.
Sunny.
We'll together we'll write a nice sketch about cardiothoracic surgery.
That would be
How about
great.
that?
That'd be
Let's
great.
do it.
I can provide the chickens and other animals should we need any.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect.
Well, thanks again for joining us. It really was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you what you're doing for all of us. It's just, you guys are a gift.
Appreciate it. Take care. Hey, Kristen,
Yeah.
can I interest you in a Demodex mite?
No, you cannot.
Why? Look at it. Look how cute they are. Little beady eyes and multiple legs of thorax and abdomen. That looks like cute.
No, I
Here,
mean,
here.
it's a stuffed animal,
Yeah.
so it does have a certain quality to it, but I don't want an actual Demodex
Well,
mite.
the real ones do hang out on your eyelids.
Yeah, see, I don't want them there.
They cause red, itchy, irritated eyelid, sometimes like flaky buildup on your
That's
eyelashes.
disgusting. I do not want that.
Well, don't get freaked out by this, okay? You got to get checked out.
Okay.
It's eye doctors that we're used to diagnosing Demodex blepharitis. It's a pretty common
You
disease.
see these little guys in your little microscopes?
My microscope might not be powerful enough to see this, but I can
Mm.
see the telltale signs of it. That's for
Mm.
sure. To find out more, go to eyelidcheck.com. Again, that's EYELID check.com to get more information about these little guys that cause Demodex blepharitis. Well, I really do think you just found a best friend.
I think so. Whether she likes it or not, I think.
I don't know if I've seen you fangirl that hard.
I know. Well, I don't even know if it's fangirl so much as just like, when you find someone that just feels like one of your people,
Yeah.
like you gotta just like hold on tight to that, right?
Just like that.
Just like that. And then, yeah, bear hug. And most people are not at all put off by that. And they just really enjoy it.
Just really
So-
enjoy bear hugs.
Yeah. I mean, she's got some experience in Alaska.
That's true. Yeah. So we didn't even get to that in the
No, we
episode.
didn't.
She lives part of her time in Alaska and remote Alaska
Yeah.
too, which is probably very beautiful. But bears, I mean, come on,
Lots of bears.
lots of bears. What a fun conversation though with her.
It really was. I relate to her on a lot of levels, and so that was fun. But also, her book is just really, really good.
Yeah,
I think everybody should read it. It's really good.
definitely check it out. And we might be sending you on to the retreat
Oh yeah,
or some retreat. I think, just
I'm just
go-
gonna show
go to-
up because this is the next thing you do in a best friendship, right? Is you have a sleepover, and
Just
so
the pop-in.
I'm just gonna do a pop-in sleepover because
All right.
she'll love it.
Did you guys know that we're going on tour? You can come and sleep with us. In
Yeah,
our,
no,
wherever-
no.
Oh, no. There's
Not
limits
that
to
kind
it.
of
Okay.
tour.
All right. The Wife in Death Tour. You can visit glaucomflecken.com/live. We're going all over the country.
That's right.
We're going to East Coast, Midwest, to the South, where we can't go everywhere because we don't have the time. But this is just for 2024.
Yes,
so-
we're already looking into 2025,
Yep.
so don't despair.
If you don't see
your city.
If you don't see anywhere close to you, then we'll let us know. Let us know where you want us to go, and we're always open to ideas.
Yeah, that's right. But this is for our stage show. It's like a tragic comedy memoir
Exactly.
show. So it's lots of fun. People that have come so far have really
Yeah,
liked it.
we've sold out some improv locations and
Yeah.
had great feedback from people. So come on out. We hope you like it. It's gonna be fun. Well, thanks for listening, and let us know what you thought of the episode. You can hit us up in a lot of different ways. Email us, knockknockhi@human-content.com. Hang out with us on our social media platforms. We also hang out with us in our Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok @Human Content Pods. Thank you to all the great listeners leaving feedback. We love to see those reviews. If you subscribe and comment on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, we can give you a shout out. Like @Lisa63Artist on YouTube said, Will is the star of Dr. Glaucomfleckens short videos, but Kristen is the star of the podcast.
Oh. Whoa.
Well,
Why, thank you.
Well, goodness gracious.
My oh my.
Well, that is high praise right there. I tend to agree. I think it's fantastic. In fact, maybe we should make you host Knock Knock I.
I don't know about that.
That was very, very thoughtful.
Yes, thank you, Lisa.
Full episodes of this podcast are up every week on my YouTube channel @DGlaucomflecken. We also have a Patreon. Lots of cool perks, bonus episodes, where we react to medical shows and movies, hang out with other members of the Knock Knock Hot community. We're there. We're talking. We're interacting. Early ad-free episode access, interactive Q&A, live stream events, and much more. Patreon.com/Glaucomflecken or go to glaucomflecken.com. Oh, also like upgraded tickets to our live show. That's
Right,
Patreon.
that
right
is
there.
a Patreon perk. A free upgrade if you
Yep.
buy a ticket.
Other Patreon perks. How about a new member shout out to Rad Ram I love it. Rad Ram. Probably some kind of radiology thing, maybe, or maybe I'm just projecting. Shout out to all the Jonathans, as always. Patrick, Lucia C., Sharon S., Omar, Edward K., Stephen G., Jonathan F., Marion W., Mr. Granddaddy, Caitlin C., Brianna L., K. L., Keith G., JJ H., Derek and Mary H., Susanna F., Jenny G., Jenny J.,
Every
Jenny
day.
G. and Jenny J., Mohammed K., Aviga Parker, Ryan, Mohammed L., David H., Jack H., David H. There are 2 David H's, by the way. So both David H's. Medical Meg, Bubbly Salt, and
Hank Macho.
A virtual head nod to you all. Patreon Roulette, random shout out to someone on the emergency medicine tier. Ken S. Ken S., thank you for being a patron. And thank you all for listening. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be here without you. Like, really, thank you.
Yeah.
We're your hosts, Will and Kristen Flannery, also known as the Glaucomfleckens. Special thanks to our guest today, Dr. Laurel Braitman. And our executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rod Golan, and Sean. My mouth.
Are you drunk?
I'm having trouble with my mouth. All right, let me start over this. Okay. Special thanks to our guest, Dr. Laurel Braitman. Our executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooke. Our editor and engineer is Jason Portizo. Our music is by Omer Binsby. To learn about a Knock Knock High's program, disclaimer, ethics, policies, submission, verification, licensing terms, have released terms, you go to updates.com or is it
You have to say that correctly.
You can go to glaucomflecken.com to reach out to us at knockknockhigh@human-content.com with any questions, concerns, or jokes. Guys, I'm sorry. That was, I'm just speaking directly to the audience now. I can do better with the disclaimers next time.
And you should. People expect it of you.
Do not hold that against me.
People love the disclaimers.
I will improve. I'll practice. I will practice tonight until I get it right. Knock Knock High is a human content production.
Knock knock. Goodbye.
Hey, Kristen, you know what these little stuffed Dax Copilot dragons make me think of?
What? These little stuffed animals?
Jonathan.
Oh.
I need to get Jonathan a little hat like this.
Yeah, a little co-pilot hat.
And what if he had wings, too?
That would just
Flying
be a game
around,
changer.
flying
Yeah,
around.
I'm surprised he doesn't already have wings. You should
Just
have thought of that.
Fixing burnout anywhere he goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what you get with the Nuanced Dragon Ambient Experience. Did you know that?
That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. 80% of patients actually say their physician is more focused with the Dax Copilot. 85% of patients say their physician is more personable and conversational with the Dax Copilot. It really does make a huge difference in patient care.
And in that patient-physician relationship.
Absolutely. You just get to focus on what got you into medicine in the first place.
Right.
You know, not documentation.
Right.
Taking care of the patient. To learn more about the Nuanced Dragon Ambient Experience or Dax Copilot, visit nuance.com/discoverdax. That's nuance.com/discoverdax. Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Help you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.